But then there is, of course, one very big reason why these elections should not go ahead, and there's no prizes for guessing, but it is an electoral calculus put out their figures just a couple of hours ago that Reform would have won all 4 of these contests and would have won them quite comfortably. The government are basically committing electoral fraud upon the electorate, who had every opportunity to put Reform mayors in place.
Good day and welcome back to the British Report channel. You know, politics in the United Kingdom has finally reached the point where the House of Lords, the unelected upper chamber, has become the epicenter of a populist political assassination. The victim, Sir Keir Starmer. The assassin, the unstoppable, utterly ruthless Nigel Farage, who has just delivered a blow so surgical and so brutally effective that it has exposed the Prime Minister as the biggest, most cynical hypocrite in Westminster, a move that critics are already saying will permanently end Starmer's remaining credibility with the British public. The trigger for this political explosion was Starmer's recent crony-filled peerage list, where he stuffed the House of Lords with 25 new Labour peers, along with a handful for the Liberal Democrats and the increasingly irrelevant Conservatives, a move transparently designed to stack the benches and push through his legislative agenda against the stubbornly large Conservative bloc. But here is the magnificent irony that Farage has seized upon. Despite the fact that Reform UK is currently leading national opinion polls, a staggering reality that makes them, statistically, the main opposition to the Labour government, yet they were given zero, absolutely none of the coveted peerages, an outrageous snub that Farage has weaponized with the precision of a political heat-seeking missile. Quick favour, if you are loving this chaotic, dramatic insight into Britain's collapsing political scene, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It is free, takes a second and means the world to us. Thanks if you did. Now back to the show, because Farage's reaction to this betrayal is a masterclass in populist indignation, and it has set the stage for Starmer's imminent political demise. The whole scandal is a glorious trap set by the Prime Minister himself. Starmer, the former Director of Public Prosecutions, the man who sold himself as the champion of integrity and democratic reform, has just been caught red-handed, dispensing jobs for life to his closest political chums. We're talking about rewards for former advisers like Matthew Doyle and Katie Martin, all under the guise of rebalancing the upper house. It is pure, unadulterated Westminster sleaze, the very thing Starmer swore to extinguish. The Electoral Reform Society is furious, calling it absurd, and noting that the government has now appointed more peers than the 92 hereditary peers it is supposedly trying to remove. It is a cynical, desperate arms race in the upper chamber, and the public can see it for exactly what it is, a job creation scheme for the political elite. But where Farage truly detonates the situation is by exposing the deliberate exclusion of Reform UK. Speaking on his GB News show, Farage didn't just complain, he threw down the gauntlet and pointed out the colossal democratic disparity. Reform UK has been leading the last 150 national polls, a run of success that makes them the voice of millions of disaffected Britons. Yet Starmer denied them a single peerage, even after Farage himself wrote a polite 3 months ago letter to the Prime Minister making the case for representation. Farage, the man who once called for the abolition of the entire House of Lords, now has the moral high ground to accuse Starmer of being part of an establishment that is not only shutting down free speech, but literally wants to shut reform out of the whole political system. It is a stunning reversal of political fortunes. Now, you have to appreciate the sheer genius of Farage's position here. If he were just a traditional politician, his demand for peerages would be hypocritical. After all, he wants to abolish the place. But Farage has always played the role of the anti-establishment outsider, the man who smashes the political furniture. By demanding representation and then being violently snubbed, he gets the best of both worlds. He can stand on his moral soapbox in Clacton and say, look, the corrupt, cynical, power-hungry establishment led by Keir Starmer is so terrified of the people's voice, your voice, that they are actively breaking their own rules to keep us out. It reinforces his most potent political weapon, the narrative that Westminster is a locked-down, self-serving club that despises the millions of people currently backing Reform UK. This is exactly what makes the Labour appointment scandal so devastating for Starmer. His decision to appoint a record number of Labour loyalists, many of whom are former staff or Labour donors like the Iceland boss Richard Walker, is a clear violation of the trust he promised the public. He vowed to end the unelected power and create a more representative second chamber. Yet his very first act as Prime Minister was to cement the cronyism he once rightly condemned. Farage, with his populist, plain-speaking rhetoric, has perfectly distilled this hypocrisy into a political poison dart, arguing that every other smaller party, from the Greens to the Liberal Democrats, has representation in the Lords, but the party leading the national polls does not. The argument is not about the constitutional merits of the Lords, it is about Starmer's broken promise and his blatant attempt to reward his friends while silencing his most effective opponent. The reason this snub and Farage's resulting condemnation will truly end Keir Starmer is because it destroys the single most important asset he has left, his image of stability and competence. The Labour government is already reeling from self-inflicted wounds, including the ongoing cost of living crisis, the continuing fallout from the Deputy Prime Minister's housing scandal, and the persistent threat of union rebellion. These Labour peerage appointments are the political equivalent of lighting a firework under a fragile economic recovery. The public simply does not want to see their tax money funding jobs for life for political insiders when they are struggling to pay their energy bills. Farage's intervention turns a niche constitutional issue into a major popular revolt, proving that Starmer is no better than the previous Conservative administrations he constantly attacked for sleaze and self-interest. Farage's simple, powerful line, "I think he's part of an establishment that literally wants to shut reform out of the whole political system," is a narrative that resonates deeply with the electorate, who are tired of being ignored. Starmer's failure to even grant Farage the courtesy of a reply to his polite letter has been interpreted as not merely bad manners, but as the supreme arrogance of a political elite who believe their power is absolute. Starmer, the man who promised a new kind of politics, has just demonstrated that he is simply the latest face of the old Westminster system, and Farage's brilliant political destruction job has ensured that the entire country knows it. This is not a policy disagreement. This is a fundamental public destruction of the Prime Minister's character, and in modern politics, character is destiny. Thank you so much for watching.